Hi and welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be looking at what is the purpose of this connection. There are three groups to choose from. Group 1 is the orange river quartz, along with these cards. Group 2 is the Auralite 23, along with these cards. And group 3 is the Rootbeer Calcite, along with these cards. So if you want to take a moment to center, focus on your breathing, and feel whichever group, maybe multiple groups, or perhaps all of the groups that you're most drawn to. I'll give you a minute to make your selection and then we'll get right into it. And there are timestamps for each group in the description box of the video if you would like to jump ahead, which I do recommend using so that you can skip over me shuffling cards in between groups to clear the energy of the group I've just read for and tap into the energy of the group I'm about to read for. So again, I'll give you a minute. Please use the timestamps and we will get into your reading. Hi, Group 1. You chose the orange river quartz, along with these cards, which I'll start with to get a feel for what is the purpose of this connection. Got the Ace of Swords, Nine of Pentacles, Queen of Swords, Four of Pentacles, Meditation, Great Big Love, and new beginnings. So with these two swords cards here, this can definitely talk about mental energy, thoughts, specifically even maybe beliefs about love, about the nature of partnership. Maybe you've had a particular type of person that you have consistently gravitated toward or have considered your type, and this person sort of falls outside of that category, is somewhat outside of the box for you, very unconventional. Maybe the circumstances through which you've met this person, or some kind of an age difference between you, some kind of a difference in culture, difference in religion, difference in lifestyle, in ways of looking at the world, in ways of kind of perspective and processing things. And this is something, it feels that, despite these differences, this is almost like an opposites attract kind of situation that in some way is meant to kind of unfold a larger understanding of the nature of love, of the kind of differing packages and methods by which that can show up. In some way, it feels that this connection is really encouraging you to maybe let go of some kind of rigid belief system, or again, a series of sort of conditions or standards that you may have had that, and obviously it's, there are certain things that are kind of red flags or are deal breakers, and it's very important to kind of honor those things when dealing with people, when, especially in terms of love, when getting to know somebody. But it feels that in other ways, beyond things of that nature, there are certain aspects of this connection, this dynamic between you and this person, that are just very much outside of what you have experienced previously in love. It's very much outside of the realm of where you might have expected to find love. And kind of the otherness of that might have really triggered the two of you, wanting to kind of cling to these comfort zones, cling to that what is known, what is familiar, kind of that hesitancy to change, that resistance to change. This could have really resulted in the two of you maybe needing to go your separate ways, kind of both of you going into your own corners respectively to really think about things with this meditation card here, to really search within, to soul search, to maybe look beyond the exterior, look beyond any kind of, with this Four of Pentacles, boundaries or barriers that maybe this rigidity has in fact placed upon your heart and your ability to receive love in a different package, or as it comes into your life in a different way in which you might have originally kind of thought for yourself that this is the, this is the method, this is the route, this is where I'm looking for love, this is the time at which I'm looking for love. This may have come in with this Ace of Swords very unexpectedly, which could have really thrown both you and this person kind of off balance. With this Nine of Pentacles, it feels that with this connection, the two of you are very, to a certain extent, very certain about who you are, very comfortable with yourself. You know yourself. You've maybe done a lot of work, struggled through relationships of the past, even kind of difficulties within yourself to get to this place of autonomy, this place of sovereignty within self. Something that's quite an accomplishment, something which, you're very protective of, you're very guarded with. And this connection, again, really kind of deviating from that, deviating from, what you had come to believe or, had sort of created as an alternative to partners that you maybe had experienced in the past, that going forward in terms of new beginnings in love, a series of things that needed to be kind of embodied, boxes that needed to be ticked off in order to open your heart fully to a connection, fully to love again. And this feels like something that, you're very compelled toward one another at the soul level, at the energetic level, for reasons that you can't quite explain. And again, things that are very much outside of the ordinary, outside of what you'd come to believe would be sort of that definition, that recipe, that package for happiness. And so one of the purposes of this connection is to, really have that time, kind of going into that separation period, to sort of reevaluate what ways in which maybe these very rigid kind of standards or beliefs are limiting you from the experience of love. In what ways maybe are you a little too guarded in your heart space, being a little too self-protective? and missing perhaps the opportunity for a very beautiful new experience in love, a very beautiful depth of connection with another individual that, if you're just able to kind of get into this space of flexibility, of reimagining that plan for yourself, stepping outside of that comfort zone a little bit, that it feels to be something that has the potential in this connection to open up a new facet or aspect of the force of love that you can experience with this person. It feels that another purpose of this connection is to, again, test those boundaries within self. And this may even be something where, there have been a series of people that have kind of come into your life that have sort of tested those boundaries, and you've come to a place where you've really honored that. Your discernment is top notch. You're really listening to that intuition. You're thinking, you're kind of creating that balance between the head and the heart. And so it could be almost this sense of being on guard a little bit, very ready and very able to cut things out of your life that feel off, that don't resonate, that don't fit the type of person you want to become and who you are. Maybe some kind of reoccurring shadows of like archetypes of people that you dealt with in the past had sort of come into your awareness previously to encountering this person, where you were really tested, you were really challenged to kind of put into action that growth that you've done on the inside, that self-love work, to really break out of some patterns, break out of some habits and cycles. And so it feels that this connection really challenges both you and this person to need to go inside and to recognize, is this another cycle? Is this another pattern re-emerging that needs to be sort of swiped away, cut away, moved beyond? Or is this kind of an unrecognized pattern? So the extreme polarity of that muscle of discernment, which is, kind of just pushing away anything that feels very outside of kind of that level of comfort, that level of norm, kind of this ideology of what you are seeking, but maybe have had no kind of practical experience of. And so it feels very much like a fine line, a challenging that is really encouraging you to go deeply inside, go deeply into that heart space, to kind of crack yourself open in some way. This situation with this person, maybe what's being triggered energetically, or even with these swords cards, that mental energy. This can even talk about words, things that were said. Maybe the two of you, again, being very triggered, kind of those boundaries, those barriers really being touched upon, really activated, that could have caused one or both of you to kind of lash out or sort of push this away. And kind of the purpose of that connection then is in the aftermath of that, as some kind of a period of separation then has ensued, to really go within and look at that. What has been triggered? Why was that triggered? Was this handled appropriately? Was this really stemming from kind of some cords of fear? Almost like an over self-protective mechanism. Is this something which, this connection and what has been triggered, is this truly an invitation to a new beginning? Is this the challenge? Is this the task to try and overcome those boundaries of fear, overcome those barriers of fear, and step out into that new territory? Or to really do that honest soul searching and to evaluate if this is in fact some kind of a test, some kind of a challenge that is requiring you to really protect yourself, to really honor yourself, honor your heart. And this is, just maybe another example, or perhaps even the first example of really shifting that narrative for yourself, shifting that story of what you're allowing into your life, the truth and authenticity of yourself that you have sought to discover, that you cultivated in your world, in your life, in the relationships you're willing to entertain. But that sword can definitely cut two ways. It's very good to, move things along that don't resonate with who you are and what you want to become, but at the same time, that discernment and setting those boundaries and kind of asserting for oneself, especially when somebody is just kind of newly stepped into that energy. It can be almost like, blindly cutting away at anything that comes in. Almost this comfort zone of feeling very secure in a way, in that protective mode, in that survival mode. And, this connection then potentially offering that opportunity to really take a look at that and to say, in what ways has that, might I still be operating in that survival mode? And is it now kind of crossing that line into pushing away blessings, as well as things that are, maybe depleting or maybe kind of toxic relationships, or things that don't really serve the highest good? So definitely a very educational connection here, that's teaching you, both of you, not only about honoring yourself first and foremost, loving yourself first and foremost, loving yourself in the form of setting those healthy boundaries, speaking that truth, really acknowledging this, and also, this kind of this invitation that is happening then to have that internal dialogue, the period of separation really being that doorway to go inside and to kind of unpack that, to kind of debrief after the experience that you've had with this person, and to really look at things after whatever has been triggered, after whatever has taken place, to kind of get that calm, get to that space of quiet and perspective, and to really take a look at, what was gained from this, what was learned from this, what was maybe taken to an extreme, or applauding yourself for, kind of doing the right thing in terms of those boundaries and those barriers. So I'm going to get some messages from this person's higher self for you now, group 1, and see what do they want to say. Okay, and we have controlling. So this can really tie in with the 9 of Pentacles, that card of autonomy, and can indicate some kind of trigger that happened within this person, maybe the intensity of this connection that was sort of breaching some of those boundaries of self. Those boundaries of self-protection that they have had to put in place, that have maybe been quite necessary in order to break out of some patterns, some relationship patterns in their life. Sort of a fear of being controlled, or a fear of, entering into another toxic cycle in terms of relationships that could have been that motivating factor for whatever was said or done that kind of pivoted you both into this energy of separation. And they also say, you are the only one who truly gets me. So that level of vulnerability might have been a little uncomfortable for this person as they have stepped more into their authenticity. They have kind of regained their sovereignty in their own life in some way, the place that they are at in their life. Maybe even in relation to other connections that they've had romantically in the past, and just this level of intensity, the level of intimacy, even energetic intimacy between the two of you. It could have just been very overwhelming for this person. A sense of comfort, of kind of enjoying, it's sort of expanding the heart space for this person to be touched on such a deep level energetically. But at the same time, then there's that fear of, if they let you in, if they keep following this feeling, if they keep, allowing this energy to kind of saturate them, if they, let themselves succumb deeper into this, follow that call, that urge to kind of step outside of this comfort zone and to trust in the magic of new beginnings, that also then opens up the possibility of things dissolving in the future, or of this person becoming hurt again, wounded again, which might have brought up those memories of past heartbreaks and what that took to kind of put the pieces of their life back together again. And they also say, I won't let you go. So this is really talking about kind of the sense of any kind of separation or silence between you and this person. They're really feeling that this is temporary. Again, that energy of sort of meditation as the dust is settling, as kind of whatever was triggered, that reactiveness, as perspective is being gained, as the two of you have kind of had this opportunity, or starting to have this opportunity to go within, to unpack this, to debrief this experience, and really seem to balance, having this opportunity to balance out the logical mind, the heart, or the intuition, your thoughts, reviewing whatever was said, whatever took place, with kind of the quiet and resounding truth within your heart, the feeling of connection with this person, this very unique bond, this very deep bond, this very intimate bond, two people who are, very perhaps opposite, but yet very well matched, very compatible. You just gel well together, maybe for reasons that are kind of hard to explain. And it could be something also where, it's almost this energy too of too good to be true. Things were going a little too well. It seemed a little too perfect, and that could have also really set off some alarm bells, some triggers for this person that caused them to kind of pull away, need to pull back, and sort of feel this out, really have that internal dialogue, that meeting with themselves between the head and the heart, to get to the bottom of things. But the core truth is that wherever you find yourselves now, they don't consider this to be the end. They're hoping that the two of you can come back together and work through this. It really starts with working through these things within themselves. Of course, that's not a one-sided story here. There's definitely things then that have come up for you, that you are now being given that opportunity to address these things within yourself, so that when the two of you then come back together, you have more of that awareness. You've come to the truth of yourself. This situation really affording you that opportunity to know yourself on a deeper level, recognize your triggers, recognize ways in which, again, you may still be operating in survival mode. How have you reacted versus responding? Applauding yourself for, ways in which you have evolved, and maybe through this situation broken out of patterns and habits you may have had, in terms of similar sort of confusion or disappointment in love in the past. It doesn't all need to be a situation of things you need to correct about yourself, but this can even be a circumstance where you're meant to really applaud yourself for kind of the tact and decorum with which you handled this situation, or the ways in which you're loving yourself. You're being very gentle with yourself. You're taking this time to really feel and to process what has happened, infusing yourself with that love, with that nurturing, that balm, that healing, really activating these self-healing mechanisms within you, so that potentially you and this person can reconnect, have some kind of a new beginning, move forward from this period in your situation, or at least this experience can help to heal you and to really make you more self-aware, so that the next time you're opening up to love, the next time you touch someone romantically, you have that interaction, you have that encounter, you're more cognizant of yourself. You're more cognizant of, this can even really help to provide perspective in terms of wounds that other people are operating out of, and a lesson to really not take these things personally, to recognize as much as you might have wounds and triggers and hangups, everybody has these things. And sometimes, almost like bumper cars, we interact with people and touch on these things, and it kind of pivots people away. It's not the fault of either person. It's just kind of the nature of the human experience. So again, a very sort of educational connection here, and something which, despite what has happened, this person, they still very much enjoy you. They enjoy this energy, and it's something to where they're not wanting to just kind of walk away and have that be the end of the story. They feel that there is something more to this than what you are currently going through with them. Okay, and they say, I'm working up the courage to contact you. So they might feel that they need to come with some kind of an apology, some kind of an explanation. This person wants to open up the lines of dialogue again. They've gotten that perspective. They've had time to really reflect on what was triggered within them. And again, this enduring love, this sense of connectedness that they have to you, feeling very compelled to you. There is this desire to kind of just not leave things where you left them, to kind of take steps and measures to sort of shift this energy, move out of this current situation in the direction of reconciliation, or kind of turning the page, trying to kind of work through jointly what has happened in this situation at this point in time. And they also say you make me nervous. So again, that energy of, really things being triggered, kind of this proximity energetically that the two of you have even touched upon within each other. And this being this new territory, it's almost this sense here of kind of this person's core, their heart, maybe a heart that has been broken many times, that, it has taken great strength and measures to kind of repair their heart. And they're very, they're preserving of that. They're very cautious about that. They're very guarded about that, about who they let in, and just kind of the depth and the level and maybe the pace at which you two just magnetize toward each other. And it's just the connection really unfolded, and kind of that sense again of too good to be true, where things are going really well, but then it's bringing up these maybe even false flags within this person that they had kind of perceived as red flags. Something just it wasn't sitting right, it wasn't feeling right. And it feels that the more that they've had this time to kind of, unpack that, to really look at that, that it's putting some perspective onto that it might not have been externally anything about the situation. It's almost the nervousness, the giddiness, the exhilaration of really perhaps even touching upon genuine connection with another person, or a depth and level of connection with another person, even energetically, that might be very new to this person, or something they haven't experienced in quite some time. And they also say, I can't stand the thought of you with someone else. So they are seeing the two of you as very compatible, very almost this opposites attract energy. They're very compelled towards you. They're very magnetized towards you. They, again, don't want to leave things in this state with you. This energy of, working up this courage to contact you, to kind of restart the conversation, to move things forward in some way in this situation. They're seeing you in some capacity, almost kind of this, this wish fulfillment. And there's this sense of this very unique opportunity to experience love in a new capacity, or sort of the healing energy of love, something they've really been craving, something they've really been needing in their life as they're reflecting on the experience with you. And, kind of weighing that out in terms of whatever was triggered within them versus, how kind of good that felt, how safe that felt, how comfortable that is. This person might not be accustomed to love as a safe space. And while that was very compelling, at the same time, it also was very foreign to them. And so it kind of, again, brought in those fears of the otherness that caused them to kind of run away or push this away. But now that they've gotten some perspective, there is this sense of, understanding that they might not be able to experience this again with another person, or in their life, in their experiences in love. This is very unique. This is something very different. There's a truth here. There's a clarity here. There's an expansion here. And it's something where, this is kind of one of those tasks then, is to work through those triggers and those fears in order to kind of move back in the direction, honor that call of their heart, despite not knowing, what potential obstacles might come in with that. This almost feels like somebody who is starting to realize that, the reward is worth the potential risk in this situation. Okay, and they say there is no need to worry. So this is, again, that reassurance that this person does not want to leave things where you have left off in this connection. They do intend on reaching out to you. They do intend on working through this. They are not simply going to kind of leave matters as they are and move forward in their life. This has been something which has affected them, which has touched them on such a deep and profound level that they seem very deeply embedded in thought right now, in that process of kind of weighing the head and the heart. And so they're trying to provide you kind of this reassurance that, it might be quiet, it might be unknown what is happening with them. They may have, pulled back energetically. You might be kind of uncertain. You're kind of left with some questions or some pain to kind of deal with within yourself. But again, this very necessary period of kind of removing one another from one another's energy and one another's proximity to, again, go within and to kind of heal and solve some of this. And, really ultimately this being for the, the best possible outcome of what can happen in this situation going forward. This time apart being very necessary to come to that clarity, to come to that truth, to really start to understand and kind of digest the implication of the vibration of love that has been touched on in this situation between the both of you. And they also say, I know you think I won't follow through, but I will. So if you've been doubting that you would hear from this person again, that they would figure things out, that there would be any change in this situation, they're letting you know that, again, they do intend on coming forward with something, not just leaving this hanging, not just, there's a sense here of unfinished business or still more in this story to be experienced. It may take them some time to kind of work through those fears fully. This can definitely be something, this feels like a very profound change, that this connection is, asking the two of you to step outside of your comfort zones on some level in a pretty major way, in your life in general and how you've dealt with love in general, or in relation to maybe your past as a whole or your recent past in love, some kind of heartbreak. This almost being kind of that new experience in love, cracking yourselves open and stepping out of that shell that was very necessary to heal from some pain in love in the past. But again, this person is very much aware of kind of this dynamic between the both of you, the intensity of this, how unique this is compared to everything else they have experienced in love in the past up to this point in their life. And it's something where, they are very curious about this. They are very engaged in this internally. They're feeling into this. They're thinking through this. They may be praying about this, asking for signs. Again, taking that time to really get that perspective so that they can make a very informed decision about how to move forward, so that when they come back to you, it's from a place of certainty. It's from a place of being able to recognize that truth within themselves of what motivated this action. Some truth about, the nature of what they're feeling, so that the lines of communication can be open between the both of you to really make some progress in this situation. And they also say, I'm not who I used to be. So this can really talk about, again, that self-protective energy where this person may have had to heal from a lot of heartbreak in their past that has left them very guarded. This could have been someone who really rushed in to situations in love in the past, just let their heart lead them, kind of at the expense of logic and, without thinking, and that could have really led to some disasters in their life in the past that they have worked very hard to grow beyond. They have worked very hard to close out those cycles. And so it's something where, again, this kind of, as that evolution has taken place, this connection really put the two of you at this crossroads of yet another level of evolution, kind of taking that lesson, taking those wisdom that has been gained within and bringing that out in the form of experiences of love and romance, a sense of discernment of, maybe pushing away connections that didn't feel right, partners that weren't resonating. But then there's also that very, that teaching experience of, at a certain point, needing to let love in, moving beyond that energy of just pushing away and, transitioning into this space of allowing. So I'm going to get some guidance for you now, group one, about the situation. Okay, and we have, I know that each sunrise brings an opportunity to make a different choice. I am evolving. So this is really tying back in with this idea that, the story is not over between you and this person. This kind of period of separation or whatever has taken place with you, it's very necessary for the two of you to kind of recognize some of your shadows that may have been triggered by the situation, triggered within this person, maybe that caused them to act or say something particular, to act a certain way, and then what was triggered within you is kind of the feelings that really kicked up from within, or the nerves that kind of touched on. And so really taking this time to, analyze these things, assess these things, honor these things, and embrace these things, infuse these things with that light of love, that light of optimism, that light of healing. Definitely a process of some wounds that have been activated that the two of you are really needing to, generate that self-healing at this point in time. But this feels like a connection that the point is not just pain. The point of this connection was not just disappointment, that there's some sweetness that is meant to come out of this, or some greater understanding of who you are, greater knowledge of self, greater knowledge of, maybe the unexpected in love. Maybe again, kind of letting down those very harsh conditions and opening up to, the possibility of love showing up in a way and in a form and in a timing that is different than you may have expected. Learning to also embrace the challenging aspects that maybe come along with that. Challenges in the form of growth. Things that again are really triggered, kind of these barriers and walls of fear, that the task then is to kind of let those guards down, to kind of let those walls subside. The only way to evolve is to really step into that new territory, to take that new chance. Yes, there's the risk that you'll get hurt, but there's also, the potential that things can work out beautifully. And so the situation with this person, it feels, is really kind of a testament to that, the two of you needing to really go within, kind of create that balance between head and heart, in order to make a more educated and informed decision moving forward, and to be able to savor kind of the full potential of what this connection has to offer. So I'm going to get one of these affirmation cards for you. Okay, and we have, I release old burdens and expectations of love. I am free to choose with confidence. So that ties this reading up very beautifully for you, group one. And again, really these, boundaries, these self-protective walls, the ways in which you and this person may have been operating in survival mode to some degree, having at some point set that intention of being ready for love, ready to let love in, even a subconscious intention or just a switch that happened in your vibration as you have really maybe healed yourself, or just the point in your journey that you were at when the two of you then have intersected. And what is being triggered now, it is that invitation to step beyond that comfort zone of fear, step into that place of trust that whatever is occurring, whatever has occurred, this is for the purpose of individual growth for the two of you, to really get to know yourself, recognize those barriers, those obstacles within yourself, to experiencing kind of a fullness of love. Or even, boundaries and barriers within self that you may deem yourself kind of unlovable, or you may question your worth, your worthiness of love, your worthiness of, this authentic love, maybe even some kind of pessimism or mistrust, because of wounds and heartbreaks of the past that has then created these blocks almost when something of a very refreshing and nurturing nature presents itself to you. So definitely the purpose of this connection then being to really step into that, to take that muscle of discernment that you have been using in the outside world and really turn that that lens within, that eye within, and to really use that sword of truth to determine what is a self-protective mechanism that I need to just let down in order to kind of let the light in, let the light of love in, understanding that you've saturated yourself with love for yourself so much up to this point in time that you're now at this place the universe is letting you know of being very ready to experience that love with another. And fear is very natural, that fear of otherness, that fear of stepping into the unknown. But this connection really having that purpose of bringing you in direct confrontation with that fear within, with those kind of perceptions within, so that you can make that choice to step through, acknowledge that fear and walk through that fire anyway, and to see and experience what is on the other side of that. So I'm going to get some initials for you now, group one. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got F, M, A, Y, N, L, K, G, E, and U. So those are your messages, group 1. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry and some divination tools in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, group 2. You chose the Auralite 23 along with these cards, which I'll start with to get a feel for what is the purpose of this connection. Got the Ten of Pentacles, Justice, Queen of Wands, the Star, the Universe, Waking the Lion, and Happiness. So it feels that this connection, this could definitely be a soulmate or maybe even if you resonate with the idea of twin flames, that can be something that you identify this person as, this connection as, with the two dolphins here, and justice with that energy of balance, and then these two people embracing here on this card. There's a sense of the purpose of this connection being to kind of bring some kind of restoration to you. A sense of really having, maybe with Waking the Lion, you've come to a place in your life where you have stepped into your power. You're creating a lot of abundance for yourself in a lot of other ways. With this Universe card, and that kind of harkens back to the World card in Tarot, which is all about kind of cycles and completions. That this connection really represents kind of a next chapter for you. A next chapter in romance, a next chapter in love, or this is a connection with someone where you are really intended to recognize and complete some kind of chapters, some kind of cycles, some kind of unfinished business, maybe with this person from a past life, or also in terms of in your life in general, things that you may have been really working towards, working through, and in some way, barriers or obstacles about your capacity to kind of give and receive love in a healthy and reciprocal manner. That the circumstances with this person really has triggered that, triggered an assessment of that. Maybe points in time where, the two of you come together only to sort of pivot apart from one another, that this really being an opportunity to go within, to step into that authenticity, to step into that power with the Queen of Wands, to, really step into that place of abundance and confidence within yourself, knowing that you are worthy and deserving of love, knowing that your idea of happiness, your idea of forever, your idea of contentment, it is yours for the taking. It is within reach. It is almost making its way to you. That idea of what your seek is seeking you. Kind of this connection being that conduit or that catalyst to really go within, to kind of surrender to that transformative fire. Maybe a very intense connection with this person, where the love runs very deep. But what is triggered and kind of the maybe some of the disappointments even that go along with that, the kind of shattering of illusions that go along with that. It's something which, it's again this very transformative energy. There's a sense of the two of you really forging each other in some way, in some internal capacity, through your interaction, through the ways in which you kind of ebb and flow toward each other, and your energies kind of merge and feed off of one another and play off of one another, really activating and aligning one another to your purpose in this lifetime, maybe a purpose that is, beyond whatever you've been doing up to this point in time, a connection that really seeks to activate something within you, a connection that, maybe through the times of collapse or things not really going according to plan, kind of that other sort of that shadow face of love, and kind of that darkness that propels you into, that crumbling that happens as you're then needing to sort of pick up the pieces, put yourself back together after an experience with somebody, or, after some kind of a concept, or even, something that you were really holding on to as far as the progression of things, and then for that to really kind of be derailed, or plans not going as you had kind of hoped or envisioned that they would, and needing to go within and do that evaluation, to become that light in the darkness, to hold out hope that whatever you're going through with this person, the intensity of emotion that is really being kicked up within you, that it's something that will subside and clarity will be provided. This feels like a connection that is meant to grow the two of you, to evolve the two of you on a soul level. Again, there's this energy of kind of balance and alignment. So definitely a strong counterpart energy here. And again, really a connection that seeks to help you to evaluate the ways in which you are showing up in love, maybe expectations that you are placing on other people, perhaps even to fulfill some kind of a sense of happiness, ways in which you might even be kind of depending on others to really determine your self-esteem, allowing others, the actions of others, to overly affect your mood, to kind of throw you off your path, to kind of rattle your cage, so to speak. And this connection being kind of that perfect learning opportunity of a way to find equilibrium, allowing yourself to be shaken, allowing yourself to be quaked, but then finding that balance, coming back to center, creating that equilibrium within yourself, allowing yourself to kind of release expectations, release timelines, release ideas of how things should turn out, and stepping more into that energy of trust, that energy of faith that on the other side of whatever kind of tumult or chaos you are going through in this connection and with this person, that clarity will come, a way forward will be shown, the purpose will be revealed. Again, this grander sort of energy here of alignment with purpose. This can be something the two of you are meant to do in the material world together, some kind of a joint endeavor. But this also really feels like the kind of the play of the energy between the both of you is really helping to bring the both of you into alignment as individuals, so that whatever you choose to focus on, the lives of other people that you touch, or the way that you are constructing and participating with your life, with the world around you, so that is from almost this higher vibration, this very powerful vibration, this self-assured vibration, this confidence that is needing to be summoned and strengthened within both of you, kind of that strength to sort of face your fears, face the darkness that is kind of unveiled, or that you are sort of plunged into through the dynamic with this person, that courage to persevere, to believe that on the other side of that, believe without a shadow of a doubt that on the other side of that, hope is there, restoration is there, good times are coming, to sort of ride these waves of energy and intensity and experience with this person, and kind of getting that bigger perspective that this is sort of this connection and what is happening internal within you, what is happening in this dynamic in the outside world. It is again kind of propelling your soul forward. This feels like a very evolutionary connection, something that is again meant to kind of harness the full potential of each of your souls in this lifetime, in order to kind of make the most of this incarnation. It feels that the two of you really, may have had a lot of past lives together. Definitely could not be the first time you've incarnated with each other. And those experiences, varying between very wonderful and content lifetimes, and lifetimes that might have also been kind of fraught with chaos and conflict. And it feels that this lifetime is almost this amalgam of all of that, that there are some very beautiful experiences with this person, but then there's also, it feels, a lot of kind of turmoil or subconscious turmoil that is really brought to the surface through the dynamic, through the intensity of what you're experiencing with them. There could definitely have been some kind of kundalini activation with this person. A lot of that just that prana, that soul energy, that life force energy, that's very, tangibly almost being activated, and it's making you aware of that kind of power and potential that exists within you, through kind of the format and the formula of, really touching lives with this other person. And how that has really sparked something, that spark of soul awareness, that kind of activation, that awakening that is taking place. A lot of transmutation of pain and difficulty from past lives, as well as, things that might have been even themes in both of your individual lives in this current incarnation. A lot of work to really, kind of almost turn that pain into power. There's a sense here of this connection really helping the two of you to find your voice, to find that authenticity, to speak that truth, to step forth and, shine that inner light of truth, regardless of sort of how other people take that, regardless of, and that's not talking about just kind of being, callous or lacking empathy, and being disregarding other people's feelings. But this is an energy of, finding that truth, not cowering down, remembering who you are, why you came into this lifetime. And it was not to play small with your life, but in some way this connection really pointing out barriers that you may have had within yourself in terms of your ability to love yourself, in terms of your ability to really stand in that authenticity, stand in that, that fierce truth within you, and really bring that forth. Putting you in contact as well through maybe some of this energy of darkness, kind of a dark night of the soul, with your purpose, with, again, what you came into this incarnation to accomplish. This can be, the healing of self in ways which then affects your vibration. So as you are touching the world, as you are touching the lives of others around you, that vibration is almost, it sparks something within them, even without you deliberately attempting such things or endeavoring such things. It's something which is perceived and which is picked up, which is, it reverberates onto others. It opens up those windows of potential in others at an energetic level that healing is possible, because you are the living example of that. You are the living example of that transmutation, that fire of change. As much as you are facing kind of the fears and the shadows that this connection really brings forth, you are being that living example that change is possible, that there is a way through that. Whatever that darkness is, that, people don't need to be stuck in ruts. They don't need to be stuck in patterns. Evolution is always possible, and profound evolution is possible at the individual level, which then can reverberate out into kind of an evolution of the experiences that we have in our material world. Different relationships that we're able to magnetize in, different ways in which we're able to show up in partnerships, show up for ourselves. So a lot of balance here, that this connection really is encouraging the two of you to cultivate within yourself, so that, romantically, either with each other moving forward, or, just in terms of your individual romantic lives, going on into the future, if you choose to go your separate ways and don't come back together, so that you're coming into these situations, again, standing in that truth. You're able to then magnetize people into your life that are of that similar vibration. You are able to connect with that. You're able to have your needs met. You're able to express these things because you have come to this knowledge of self. You know what it is you need, you know what it is you want, and through that knowledge are able to articulate that, are able to take steps to really bring that to you, and are able to, show up more reciprocally in loving connections and partnerships. There could also be a lot of kind of psychic energy here. I always think with the dolphins in this card, and just dolphins in general, this idea of kind of this echolocation. This kind of communication at a vibrational level. So telepathy could be really big between you and this person. That can be some of what was, activated is the ability to recognize that that form of communication within yourself, to really turn that on. To strengthen that, to get to utilize that, to recognize that as almost a facet or a phalange of the antenna that kind of connects you with your higher self and with spirit, and learning to, perceive the existence of such an antenna, such an ability to, receive that intuition, receive that insight, receive that guidance in times of confusion, or, that helps you kind of navigate to, windows of opportunity and away from doors that must be closed. And so this connection, again, really tapping into that, learning to kind of harness that, utilize that. It can help you in terms of your purpose in life, to lean more into that intuition, to lean more into that trust, to not focus so much on necessarily what's being shown in the material world, but to learn to kind of trust and lean more into sensation, to perceive and to kind of work with energy more, factoring that into decisions that you are making, weighing in head and the heart as well as spirit and soul, moving forward. So kind of a widening of your ability to navigate through this lifetime, The two of you, I feel definitely very connected in this process. Again, this feels like an energy of kind of coming together only to move apart through various stages. This does feel like something where balance can be achieved. So for a lot of you, this is something where, there will be some kind of resolution to this. You can come together with this person in the future if you both choose. And kind of as this alignment has been reached within self, you're then able to kind of move forward in your life in a romantic relationship from a place of alignment, as opposed to almost a place of conflict within self, or a degree of ignorance about self, that this connection again kind of opens that portal to that knowledge of self, that deep understanding of who you are, things that need to be released, things that need to really be brought to the surface, kind of reconstructing and reimagining the way you move through the world, how you perceive yourself, and kind of the purpose of this incarnation, so that romantically you're then able to align with either this person in the future or another romantic partner who has that similar kind of sense of self, who is working similarly from kind of this weighted and balanced place where they are taking the head into consideration, the logical mind. They're hearing out kind of the protests of the ego. They're listening to that resounding whisper of the heart that is calling them forth in a particular direction. They're tapping in and tuning into kind of those vibrations of the soul and of spirit that are received through matters like telepathy, through signs, through synchronicities, through those nudges, truth chills, premonitions, just any number of things. Resonance as kind of a sign of directions to move toward or to move away from. So it feels like a connection that, again, kind of widens your ability to navigate through life and also to navigate within a loving connection. So I'm going to get some messages from this person's higher self for you now, group 2. What do they want to say? Okay, and we have twin flames, so there's that confirmation there. If you resonate with the concept of twin flames, or you consider this person a soulmate, counterpart, a past life connection, a kindred spirit, a kindred soul, twin soul, whatever, just a very unique and intense connection if you're not into labels. But there is something definitely very profound and very transformative about this connection, that it not only sparks sort of that fire of passion, but it's also the fire of transformation. It's the fire of illumination, of enlightenment, of awakening, awakening even certain parts of yourself. If you consider yourself to be a very awakened being already, there's something about this connection, about this dynamic between the two of you that really kind of brings things to the next level. It brings things online. It makes you aware of kind of some of those more intricate facets of who you are as an individual, and how you interact with the force of love, how you interact with energy, making you more cognizant and aware of who you are, how you have been moving through the world, and opening you up to that potential of kind of even a greater participation in this, this process of life, this human experience than you have had up to this point. And they also say, I'm ready for more than just texts. So this person longs to be with you, longs for that closeness. As much as you may pivot away from one another, there is this desire, this magnetization towards each other. This person sees you as somebody that, they, as intense as this is, they want to keep exploring this. They want to keep digging through this. They want to see where this will go. They want to take things to the next level in whatever way that means, whether that's coming out of a period of separation and kind of resuming a closeness with one another. Or that can even just be something where, with that reference to text and that being like a very, kind of a 3D modality of communication, that can really talk about this telepathy that has been activated. This person's very aware of that, and they're wanting to participate with that, or in that with you, cognizant of kind of the energetic exchange between the both of you, and having this desire to kind of make the most of that, to explore that a little more, to kind of teach each other and learn through each other how to kind of navigate that, how to utilize that skill or that that sense, that sensation, that muscle, that ability. And we also have honest. So they have a very pure love for you, as tumultuous as this connection may be, as transformational on the individual and energetic level as this connection may be. This feels like the kind of truest form of vitality through the force of love that this person has experienced, and the intensity of that, the rawness of that, the power of that may be very overwhelming to the both of you. But it's something where, you know, this person is definitely trying. They're trying to get their footing with that. They're trying to fight those kind of walls and barriers of fear so that the two of you can progress this connection to the next level. As much as you might have been pivoted away from each other, they're really taking this time to look deeply within themselves, to cultivate that balance within themselves, to find that authenticity, find that voice within them that is crying out for more in their life, that is crying out for more in love. To allow that voice of courage to be the deciding factor, kind of putting the mute button on the fears that might have kept them kind of limited, or may have sort of propelled them away from this connection in the past. They're seeing this connection also as kind of a new and a very a fresh level of kind of the meaning of love, of their experience of love. They may even consider this, or they're starting to consider this as what they have heard of, almost this idea of the lost myth of true love. And, you know, just really having come into contact with that, having resurrected that, and the intensity of that, the gravity of that, being very startling for this person, but also filling them with a sense of joy at almost this resurrection of a dream that they may have given up on, of finding somebody that was so just such a compelling and passionate connection that not only challenges one another but encourages one another energetically as you support one another through these periods of kind of physical separation, to really find that truth, find that authenticity within. They're recognizing this as a connection that is aligning them maybe in other ways as well, with their true north in their life, so that they can take steps in that direction. They can discontinue almost this period of detours or distractions and really get focused, really make the most of their time on this earth journey in this incarnation. Okay, and they say, I get emotional when I think of you. So a very intense energetic connection between the both of you. It could be a very cathartic connection, where a lot of just kind of subconscious and deeply buried sort of emotions, even emotions without cause, are really coming up. There could be a lot of tears, a lot of purging going on in this connection right now. And this could be something even that goes the other way, where, you know, you really spark this fire within this person, almost this intensity, this irritation, this irritability, kind of both of those polarities. And these things really being kind of that vehicle for moving through vibrations of stagnancy. It brings to mind almost the idea of like a rocket ship when that is being launched. And kind of that thunder and the smoke and the fire and the rumbling and the shaking that is kind of that precursor to sort of penetrating the boundaries of the atmosphere that is ordinarily able to be touched. And once that kind of boundary is crossed, is transcended, then it flows very smoothly. It flows very freely. So it definitely feels like something where, you know, the emotions that are kicked up, that are stirred up, this kind of darkness, this passion, this longing, this confusion, this resistance, even, that all of that is, you know, this is just kind of the makings. This is the stirrings of this great activation, this kind of soup of transformation that is is really brewing, that is really coming together energetically between the both of you and individually. And they also say, I'm faced with constant reminders of you. So they could be getting a lot of signs and synchronicities about you, reminders about you in the connection. In any period of separation or kind of no contact that you find yourself in, this is definitely not out of sight, out of mind. As much as they may kind of vacillate between trying to avoid this, trying to, just kind of stay with what is familiar, what is known, almost this sense of kind of staying comfortably numb in their surroundings, trying to avoid the intensity of this. They keep being brought back to it through external things in the universe, little reminders, and also just kind of a spontaneity of thoughts that they are having of you. Maybe even this telepathy that kind of kicks on and occurs, and sort of despite their best efforts, they can't help but be drawn back to this. And they also say, I wish I could give you more. So this is an energy of kind of reaching and of evolution and a desire within this person to transcend wherever you find yourselves currently. This connection motivating them to kind of do this work within, to create that balance within, to kind of ride these storms, find the wisdom, transmute whatever emotions or whatever has happened between you, whatever is happening in their external life. Period of self-reflection that may be very necessary at this point in time to really deal with some unhealed wounds within them that might have, really come into contrast with wounds within you, things that were really ignited, that were really kind of irritated within one another in order to kind of propel you away, this intensity that then kind of comes with this propulsion in order for you to do this personal evolutionary work, so that when you come back together, that vibration, that connectedness, it is on this elevated level, and like each time you're kind of moving apart and then coming back together, it's at a higher octave and a higher octave and a higher octave as you seek to kind of transcend those boundaries of the atmosphere of your perception of self, how you have experienced and interacted with the force of love previously, to kind of move beyond that, move beyond the limits of your own potential, really access and unearth that untapped potential in you, both as a lover and as an individual, in order to really, again, make the most of this earthly experience and to fulfill some kind of purpose for you incarnating at this point in time and in this time of and space, in order to, really the transformation and the evolution that takes place within yourself, to touch the lives of others, to touch the world around you, to leave a little bit of light wherever it is that you go, that spark of awakening, that spark of awareness, even if it's very unstated, that is perceived by others, by the world as you touch it, that change is possible, evolution is possible, that it is possible to kind of move through those fears, and on the other side of that is growth and is potential. Okay, and we have old karmic patterns are ending. So there's that fire of transmutation, whatever's been triggered in this connection, whatever place you find yourselves at this point in time. There's a lot happening beneath the surface. There's a lot happening in both of your external lives. You're in this process of kind of identifying and breaking out of patterns, breaking out of cycles, tying up loose ends within yourself, kind of the transformation that occurs between you and this person on an energetic level is then also helping you as you are kind of navigating these other maybe karmic relationships in your life. That can be other romantic connections, that can be friends, that can be family, coworkers. Karmic kind of patterns can also relate to lifestyle choices. This can be the narrative that we have of ourself, the perception that we have of ourself, limitations that we have placed upon ourself, the way that we, maybe view our past self. Karma can be in the form of guilt and shame that we carry around, that we are needing to release, abilities or kind of our inability to love ourselves fully for who we are, the experience experiences that have shaped us to this moment in time, and kind of the belief that we have of what is possible in the future. This can also be kind of belief systems about love, the nature of partnership, maybe even the progression of how things occur. It feels like a connection that is really kind of you're meeting at point A and you're already at point Z, like instantaneously with this person. There's already just this, you've clicked on such a deep level, that might also kind of bring into question sort of that natural progression of how things ordinarily evolve in a romantic partnership. It's helping the two of you to really see beyond that, see beyond those kind of physical parameters, and to really tap in as well to kind of the energetic nature, a sense here of the two of you, your souls being unified, and kind of the illusion of separation within your bodies being something that you're needing to kind of come to terms with, to hold space within you, to honor that, to recognize that as reality, and to also kind of bring in the perpetuity of how the two of you are connected in your souls. And they also say, I want to talk to you. So that ties in with that energy of wanting more than texts. They're wanting to re-spark this communication. They're wanting to even move beyond the telepathy that you may have going on. This person is, not satisfied with the distance that exists between the two of you. There's a longing to resume that closeness, to kind of come back together, to touch each other's lives again in a more direct way in which you currently are. You're heavily on this person's mind as they're going through this process of kind of balance within themselves. The circumstances that have occurred between the both of you and the ways in which this connection has really touched them, has really affected their life, is not lost to this person. And they also say, I am more spiritual because of you. So this can be a lot of what has been activated within this person. This could be somebody who is very, very logically minded, somebody who, is very practical, and in some way, whether you are a spiritual person or just because of the nature of the dynamic, the energetic dynamic between the both of you, you've really put this person in contact with their higher self. You've really opened their eyes to the spiritual side of life. You've really are helping this person to kind of take these things into account, to tap into that, to commune with that, to create dialogue with that, to build that relationship. And it's something that, as much as this might be kind of unknown territory, new territory for this person, a lot of growing pains in that as they are trying to kind of articulate that into who they are on a 3D sense, on an ego sense, in a logical sense. There is growth happening. It's almost like a new aspect of this person that has been revealed to them through the nature of this connection. So I'm going to get some guidance for you now, group 2, about the situation. Okay. I know that for every door that life closes, a new one opens around the corner. I am optimistic. So this is a very beautiful message about this concept of cycles, patterns, ideas, this process of transmutation individually and in terms of how you relate to one another, that is very dynamic and is ever present in this connection. This connection definitely having this purpose of personal evolution, personal development, and also the acceleration of how you are able to kind of interact with and experience the force of love in the tangible sense of sharing that love with another. And this can also really talk about with that idea of, new doors opening. This can also be that reassurance that, as much as, you might be in a distance with this person, you might be uncertain about, what they want moving forward. If they're still thinking about you, if this is kind of the end of things, this can be that extra reassurance that, they are wanting to move back in your direction. They're wanting to change these circumstances between the both of you. And it may just be a point in your journey right now where you're needing to kind of go things alone in the physical sense, connected with one another in that spiritual sense. But this is definitely encouraging you to, keep hope and keep faith that in the time and manner in which you are meant to realign with this person, if that is, what both of you choose to do in this lifetime, that the universe will do what it can, which is, a lot, to kind of move mountains and kind of create these openings to alleviate obstacles, barriers, and blockages, externally, and also really helping to kind of assist in the clearing of these things internally to facilitate the two of you really magnetizing back together in this more kind of evolved state, so that the interaction with one another, it's at a deeper and more authentic level than what you might have experienced together previously. And we also have, I acknowledge and express my emotions with ease and grace. So this is really tying in with that idea of a lot of catharsis happening right now, tears that are being shed, maybe a little bit of anger or frustration over the circumstances that you find yourselves in or what has been triggered, and really the guidance that, all of that is part of this cleansing and growth process, to lean into that, to allow yourself to feel these things, process these things in a healthy manner, not get too stuck on that or dwell on that or be down on yourself or try and, there's almost sometimes an inclination to focus too much on the light and to not allow ourselves the time to really feel those more dense experiences, those dense emotions. We need time to kind of sit in our own darkness sometimes in order to truly recognize and cultivate and appreciate that light within us, to provide that contrast, to provide that perspective, so that we are able to enjoy and to really make the most of the experiences of happiness and the experiences of joy, because we have deep and personal knowledge and conversation with sorrow and disappointment. So I'm going to get some initials for you now. Group 2, this can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. We've got E, V, O, L, S, I, U, K, and D. So those are your messages, group 2. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you liked the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry and some divination tools in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well. Hi, Group 3. You chose the Rootbeer Calcite, along with these cards, which I'll start with to get a feel for what is the purpose of this connection. I've got 8 of Pentacles, 8 of Cups, 6 of Pentacles, 9 of Cups, Magic Tree, Beyond the Ordinary, and Simplicity. So with the 2 8s, with the 8 of Pentacles and 8 of Cups, and that idea of kind of infinity or loopings or patterns or cycles, this connection definitely can be a past life connection with this person, where the 2 of you have kind of reconvened in this incarnation to maybe touch upon some perhaps very heavy or intense emotions within each other, to really activate and bring attention to through the material experiences that you have, kind of a recreation of some of these denser vibrations, things that your soul has just kind of been sort of carrying along with you from lifetime to lifetime, that this is now the incarnation to clear these things, to transcend these things, to do that inner work, to face some shadows. This idea also of kind of release on this 8 of Pentacles here, where she's got this skull on the desk with her, and kind of this idea of endings that give way to new beginnings, to rebirth. A sense here of this connection being very crucial to help you close out some doors within yourself emotionally, within the ways in which you give and receive love to another, in which you really are able to perceive your ability to receive love, or in some way is kind of bringing your attention to some work that needs to be done on yourself in terms of, maybe raising your standards, setting some boundaries, valuing yourself more, recognizing as well your ability to kind of shift energies within your own life, that may be disappointments in love that you have experienced in the past, and sort of the bitter taste that has left you with, the pessimism that might have left you with, or a certain belief system or an idea about the nature of love and partnerships, and kind of the progression of events, and how certain things can kind of lead to the development or the erosion of other circumstances, that in some way this connection is calling for an evolution of that, to really seek to do that work and to find those kind of self-limiting barriers within yourself. A connection that is really encouraging you to build yourself up, to invest in yourself, to invest in your personal healing and growth in this lifetime, rather than, maybe continuing to just press forward, to put on that brave face, to keep pushing forward, beyond disappointments, chalking that up to, maybe bad luck in love, or just kind of putting that blame all on the other person. This can also be a connection which is really calling you to redirect that focus within, to give some attention to how are you showing up into relationships, and then how is that affecting the dynamic you are experiencing with other people. Learning to kind of balance out as well any ways in which you've been taking too much blame on yourself, really been questioning your lovability, to really build yourself up and recognize your worthiness and how deserving you are of healthy and reciprocal love. Coming to a place of not just, again, kind of taking all that blame onto yourself, but being willing to recognize that, everyone is kind of operating through their life from their own series of kind of distortions and issues and hurts and hangups, and to try and, get to this space where you have this sense of self, you have this sense of love within yourself. You're doing what is necessary to heal yourself after difficult experiences with other people. Focusing maybe that energy of wanting to give, or wanting to fix things, or wanting to help, or wanting to heal. Focusing on that on yourself first and foremost. recognizing you have to help yourself before you can help others. And ultimately, we are all responsible for saving ourselves in that capacity. So some of you might have kind of almost had this inclination of being almost a rescuer, maybe a little bit of kind of codependency, or you were an empath. You were very sensitive to kind of the needs and the wounds of others, and it was just your instinct to kind of give some of that. You may have also experienced relationships where other people really took from that, took advantage of that, and left you feeling very drained, very depleted, very isolated, very used by other people in romantic connections. And something about this situation with this person is really calling you to invest more fully in yourself, to heal more fully in yourself, so that you're able to receive and experience this very beautiful love that is here for you. This fills with this beyond the ordinary, that this is something outside of the scope of what you've experienced in love in the past, but that it might have really triggered some things with you, and also vice versa. This feels like a very mirrored energy also with these eights here, to where some things you might be going through, or that might have been really kicked up from your subconscious. It feels that this is this person's story as well. They have gone through similar experiences in their life, maybe of being very depleted, very drained, very used, very one-sided connections, maybe feeling that they were only valued for what they could provide and offer, perhaps financially or even energetically, to another partner. Feeling that, maybe they were the only one really invested in kind of the growth and the maintenance and the well-being of connections in the past. And so it's been kind of a series of partnerships of giving a lot, giving their all, and sort of coming up short. With this energy here of the Nine of Cups, which is usually satisfaction, the look on her face, she doesn't look too satisfied with that. It's a lone energy. It's kind of this idea of then left alone to kind of fill that own cup. Coming to a space then of kind of rebuilding after perhaps a series of disappointments in love, and each time being a little less enthusiastic about what love in the future has to offer, focusing mainly then on kind of building stability, building abundance in the material world, but not having much faith in love. This can definitely be a connection where for the two of you, you might have been almost at the point of just having to really work on that contentment within yourself, work on that that knowledge and understanding that, if love is not meant for you in this lifetime, that your life isn't over, it will still work. You can still have joy. You can still have abundance. You can experience love in other facets. It feels like something where, there might have been that yearning for that gentleness of love. Maybe ideas that you had of what love should feel like that you have never quite experienced in this lifetime. This connection being that doorway to that, something which really kind of moves beyond what you've experienced and what you thought possible in partnerships. And so there might be a little bit of hesitation there with that, to really kind of lean into that, to really trust in that. Maybe kind of just both of you really having expended so much of yourselves in very one-sided, unrequited relationships in the past, things that, kind of dissolved into one person carrying all of that burden, and, just being really held responsible and accountable for sort of the upkeep and the feelings and the stability emotionally of the other person and of the connection. And so really coming into a place in life of, just being very comfortable in their own company, just being content with what they have, coming to a space of being okay, with a partnership, without a partnership. But in some way, this connection, it restores hope for the both of you, that the magic of love is possible, that spark is possible, that a connection with another in a reciprocal way is possible. This feels like something that there's some barriers of pessimism that are needing to be kind of worked through. Some stories or experiences of love in the past, that this connection and kind of this purity, this very pure energy, this very cool energy, this isn't a lot of volatility, this is an energy of peace here. And that could be something that the two of you are very unaccustomed to experiencing in romantic partnerships, is this sense of peace. this sense of, not needing to bend over backwards for the other person, or, being on edge, being very, dialed into kind of the moods and the needs and the whims of one person, kind of putting your own needs, your own wants and desires secondary to whatever is necessary to kind of, preserve the peace, so to speak, or at least the status quo within relationships, that this connection comes in almost as a breath of fresh air, something very different, something where, the two of you just flow very seamlessly with each other. This feels like the purpose of this connection is to introduce you to gentleness in love, not a love that is without, passion and attraction, but a love that is based on truth. A love that is based on serenity, that is based on this place of calm, this place of understanding, this place of acceptance at a deep soul level for both the shadows and the light that exist within the two of you, that could be very foreign to both of you in terms of your experiences with partners in the past. With this energy of a tree, this is, almost this seed that is planted in the two of you coming together, and, that kind of otherness of this situation, this sense of peace that could be so, again, outside of the ordinary of what had been experienced in terms of, many heartbreaks, or a very profound heartbreak prior to coming into contact with one another. There's almost a sense of resistance here or disbelief in the ability to relinquish that pain, to kind of move beyond that. Almost a sense of skepticism here about if a different experience in love is possible, or is this just going to be more of the same? Is this just going to be more of the same disappointment? So in some way it feels that this connection is gently awakening the two of you to the possibility and the reality that your knowledge and experience of love up to this point, this is not the full extent of love. There are so many layers and facets and aspects and dynamics that in this lifetime you have been so unfamiliar with, you have not touched upon. These are strangers to you. And the two of you really, again, kind of through this energy of through space and time, this kind of past life idea with the eights and kind of cycling back around into each other's lives, at a point where you have sought and cultivated that serenity within yourself, that peace within yourself, that contentment within yourself. But it's now time to sort of revive one another, to soothe one another, to provide one another the very tangible and soothing experience of love, to sort of mimic and mirror the sense of serenity and acceptance that you have both sought to cultivate within yourselves. With this idea also of beyond the extraordinary and magic, there's this sense of this connection, the purpose of it, as well as this with this feather on simplicity. You could be seeing feathers a lot, or this can really tie into signs and synchronicities. But there's this sense of a very magical aspect of this connection that is seeking to really kind of revive that innocence, the child within both of you, that believes in magic, that believes in miracles, that believes that the world does not just have to be these polar opposites of positive and negative, but there's such an intricacy in between that. There's a fluidity to that that defies logic, that defies definition, and this connection really tapping the two of you into that, tapping you into almost this higher dimension, bringing reality to kind of these fables and these fantasies of what love can be in terms of vibration, and sort of bringing that into a very kind of out of the ordinary, a very otherworldly kind of experience in love with one another. A love story, which again really has a lot of synchronicities, has a lot of signs, almost like a little trail of clues that you are both supposed to follow as you are kind of going within, as you kind of do some of this clearing work, some of this releasing work within each other. It's almost like something that's released, it then gives you access, you gain access, you get into closer proximity to that experience of true satisfaction and joy in the form of connecting in a reciprocal and healthy and high vibrational manner with another person through the kind of vehicle of love. So I'm going to get some messages from this person's higher self for you now, group 3, and see what do they want to say. Okay, so we have nostalgic. So this can definitely tie into that energy of a past life connection. This person really, in any kind of distance or separation that you are in, there's a feeling of longing for you, of craving you, craving this peace, craving this simplicity, having touched on a love that, you know, was simple. It was easy. It didn't come with all of these hoops to jump through. It wasn't made difficult. There isn't this kind of clash between the both of you. But it feels almost too comforting. Like this person had just become so accustomed maybe to difficulty and equating that with love, that love would be challenging. Love would be a struggle, that at some point in time it would almost be this, maybe two people who are very self-assured, very independent, maybe two very successful people, and kind of this preconceived notion they may have had about some kind of power struggle or this need to kind of, create this balance. Times where this person has kind of had to dilute themselves down or kind of put their needs or their opinions on the back burner in order to allow somebody else to kind of have that podium. And this feels like a very different dynamic between the both of you, which could be very reassuring. It's something which really beckons this person. It calls this person. But at the same time, it is something which, it's very much, it's a sense of otherness. It's something that's outside of what they have experienced previously. And so there's a degree of fear here. There's a degree of hesitation, a sense of, is this just wishful thinking? Is this just some kind of an illusion? Kind of a need to work through some of that pessimism and that hopelessness to open themselves up to a new experience of love, trusting in that peace that this connection is offering them and is inviting them to experience. And we also have guarded. So this can really talk about those heartbreaks of the past, cycles that this person has tried to work through in terms of how they show up in connections, in terms of the type of partners that they allow into their life, seeking to avoid depleting themselves again. Maybe somebody who's made that, that resolution to themselves that they will not lose themselves to a connection again. They will not overgive to a connection again. They will not put themselves secondary to somebody else again. They will not stoop to meet a connection, but somebody who has really, set that kind of parameter that the connection, anyone they would entertain in partnership must rise to meet them. And it's something that, through that standard that they have set, there's a sense of this interaction with the two of you, kind of this idea of the feather in the wind. This just came in very seamlessly. It came in very unexpectedly. That standard of rising, they almost expected that would be, it would be this kind of pivoting energy where the two of you are, kind of actively seeking to cultivate that balance and that equal ground, that equal footing, and almost like the feather that just kind of drifts in. This connection just sort of came into their life out of nowhere, showed up very unexpectedly. This kind of seamless fusion of the two of you in each other's lives in some capacity that really can be triggering them in terms of, again, this sense of, is this too good to be true? What's the catch here? When's this other shoe going to drop? It couldn't possibly be this simple. To be in love or to allow oneself to open up to love, because love has been so difficult and so painful and so draining for them in the past. And they also say, you hit me out of nowhere. So again, that idea of kind of spontaneity, coming in very unexpectedly into one another's lives at a time when they might not have, necessarily been actively seeking love. It's almost as if the two of you just kind of found each other, that you were just almost brought together. This is bringing to mind all kinds of ideas about kind of fate and destiny, and again, these past life connection, and really intersecting with each other at just the right time. There's a sense of divine timing at play here, that at this point in your individual lives, you have really come into contact with one another. To trigger these kind of this hesitancy, this guardedness, this almost sort of looking for that catch, maybe looking a little too deeply into things to try and see, is there deception going on here? Is there something that's not being made clear? Am I just being naive in this situation? and all of that being very necessary, that internal work within, to release some of those narratives, to release, taking that wisdom of the experiences of difficulties in love in the past and utilizing that to make informed choices in the future, but also coming to this place of really sifting through the experiences of the past, to let go what doesn't resonate, what doesn't serve, belief systems or even fears or feelings that have been held on to recognizing sort of the opening or the portal to step beyond what has been experienced in love in the past, to welcome in a simple love, a fulfilling love, peace in love, as opposed to chaos and turmoil that is masquerading as love, that is calling itself love. This is almost the introduction to the gentle face of love, which is very unusual for this person, perhaps also very unusual for you, the two of you feeling very out of your element and very exposed, almost very kind of uncertain, following these signs, following, these boxes that are being ticked off, but with a certain degree of needing to kind of hold back. This connection also, really the purpose of it kind of bringing that attention back so that you can, step into that place of satisfaction and really applaud yourself for maybe showing up in this connection differently than you have in others in the past. The work that you've done within yourself, that knowledge of self that you have gained, it feels that this connection really can help you to kind of appreciate what you've been through before and all that hard work you've done on yourself, to recognize you really have transcended some kind of a cycle or pattern in your life. Maybe it was just a very repetitive thing where you would pick up the pieces of yourself only to kind of enter back into the same sorts of situations with people, to be completely drained and depleted and broken, only to have to pick yourself back up time and again. And so the degree of caution and guardedness that you're both experiencing in this situation is that evidence of the evolution having taken place. That is that evidence of a pattern having been broken, a cycle having been broken, which brings you into direct confrontation with another cycle of needing to lean into that trust, needing to take that leap of faith, to experience that different result that you have been working so diligently toward in love and within yourself. Okay, and we have rose-colored glasses. So that is, again, that fear that this person maybe is operating from, that maybe this is too good to be true. Maybe there's something they're not seeing or they're overlooking. They could be scrutinizing this, or really just leaning into kind of that heightened degree of caution and discernment. This sense of, again, peace that this connection provides feels so different from what they may have experienced in love in the past. It's so different from what you've experienced in love in the past, in the blossoming of love, or even whatever stage in this situation that you are at. You've come to this point of new territory. It's this point that is beyond what was ever expected or anticipated. And so kind of being in this process now of, again, kind of recognizing those boundaries of fear, recognizing ways in which the two of you might need to kind of relinquish some of that guardedness and lean into that energy of trust. Kind of breaking out of that maybe pattern or cycle of expecting the worst and trusting that really beautiful things can arrive, will arrive, and have arrived in the form of this connection. And we've got divine counterpart. So that is more of that kind of past life energy coming through. And this is really also tying in for me with this idea of, often we hear about ideas with like the concept of twin flames and the volatility that goes along with that. And people often get so fixated on that, that must be the most profound definition of love because it's so intense, it's so powerful, and it is a very transformative energy. But there's another aspect of love, which is that expansive peace that we are all in some way seeking, that we seek to cultivate within ourselves, that we seek to experience with another. And it's something that is often, it's not given as much value and as much attention. It's something it's that quiet voice of truth. It's not loud, it's not crashing. There's, with that quietness, with that peace, with that simplicity, that's true counterpart energy. When you can, stand in that individuality and all of your blazing glory, and yet bring that sense of connectedness to one another seamlessly, that magnetization, where time seems to stop for the two of you. And in that space, you truly feel seen, and you truly feel known for who you are. You feel comfortable with who you are. You feel comfortable with being yourself. It's almost the existence of that love, being in that very present moment of love, without that element of struggle involved, without seeking to really hold on to that, or to, maneuver to kind of keep the attention of that vibration. With true counterpart energy, that is something that, it's just seamless. It just happens. It's almost like, entering into another room in terms of the experience of love and of connection. And it feels like something that this person has tapped into with you. The two of you have tapped into this together. And it's something which, it may defy even what you have come to have experienced about love, what other people out there are talking about in terms of love, partnerships, the purposes of connection. The intensity, overly focusing on that kind of rush of love. And this is the other aspect of that. This is that peace. This is that vista. This is that destination almost. This is that, perpetual now. And really touching upon that in this situation, which can be very alluring. It's very comforting. It's almost this sense of relief, and a sense of homecoming that this person feels with you. But also then this skepticism of like, okay, is this just some kind of calm before the storm? Is there something I'm not seeing? Is there something that is being withheld? Kind of this very natural and understandable hesitancy to trust. Which is kind of one of these purposes again of this connection, to lean into that, to go with that flow, to be like that feather in the wind, and to allow oneself to be carried by this, to not be anticipating the worst, hoping the worst, being cognizant of difficulties that love has kind of fashioned the two of you into in various ways from your past, but not allowing that kind of baggage or clutter to kind of dull or diminish this new experience, this new terrain, this new up-leveling in love that this dynamic offers. And we also have "You Make Me Nervous." So again, that hesitancy about this new territory, a new sensation. This feels like a connection where there is a lot of intensity and attraction, but at the same time, again, that element of kind of peace and this breath of fresh air that is so out of the ordinary from what this person has come to understand love as, or even just on a very visceral kind of neurological facet, what their body, what their emotional body, what their aura has come to equate with the idea of love, because of the shades of love that have been touched upon directly prior to coming into contact with you. And so there's a sense almost of, in a way, kind of clinging to that as familiar and normal, and being a little bit hesitant to step out of that comfort zone to experience something that might be a little more healthy, something that's a little more nourishing, something that's more reciprocal, because they had become so accustomed up to this point to, the opposite of that it became, it's almost that comfort zone despite the fact that it's uncomfortable. Okay, and they say, "I feel changes I can't explain yet." So that is, again, that energy of peace, this new vista of love, this new territory that has been tapped into. Definitely this person feeling that, feeling this sensation, being very intrigued by that, but a little bit uncertain, a little bit guarded, a little bit cautious, needing to kind of sit with this. This person may have pulled away from you, kind of gone quiet, maybe even ghosted you a little bit, or just, in some way kind of created space between the both of you to kind of process this, to sort of figure this out. The place in this journey you both are at then is needing to kind of go back in and to recognize, this opportunity for peace in love that is being offered, and taking a look at, what are some of the kind of barriers against that? What are some of the, kind of the heaviness that might still be existing in the mind and in the belief systems, that needs to be kind of let go, that needs to be sort of released, that needs to be worked on, in order to step into this place of kind of trust, taking that chance, allowing the magic of this connection to really light the both of you up from the inside, and to continue to, kind of take those steps, maybe even small steps toward trusting in this almost, it feels like a miracle, kind of very unexpected for the both of you at the point in your life, and also in terms of what you've experienced in love in the past. Something that really evolves you, takes you to the next level, takes you outside of the ordinary of what you've known of love, what other people talk of love and of partnerships, even of the idea of counterparts. And we have, you are healing DNA and clearing ancestral karma in your family line. So again, that energy of cycles, breaking out of cycles, breaking out of even releasing some kind of past life disappointments, maybe even disappointments stemming from other lifetimes the two of you have shared together, that could be part of that kind of cloak of fear that is trailing behind you, that is creating some kind of disturbance in the resistance in the ability to kind of lean into this more fully. The period that you find yourselves in, very important. In order to do that cleansing, that clearing work for yourself. And then also this connection with the peace that offers, and how very different that is from what the two of you may have individually experienced in terms of love, what might have been kind of the way that love showed up or was defined in your family, in your friends, in your community, in the world even. Ideas and notions, also about concepts like twin flame and soulmate, and what people typically associate with that, what goes along with that, what comes from that, what the purpose of that is. This feels like something entirely different, a new level, a next chapter, something else. It's bringing to the forefront kind of the untalked face of that idea of two souls kind of coming into alignment, fitting so neatly in with each other, and kind of the process of working through those fears and moving toward each other, being willing to accept this peace, the peace of love that wants to come in, the healing of love that wants to come in, and that process, moving through those barriers and then crossing that threshold, that it breaks a pattern somehow. It breaks a pattern of resistance to otherness. It breaks a pattern of almost being addicted to chaos of love, or holding on to or clinging on to disappointments in love. It's like this idea of the evolution of the idea and the knowledge of love, the belief in love, the experience in love, and by the two of you really coming together and allowing yourselves to infuse each other with this energy, to be fused together through this energy. You are then able to touch the world and touch lives around you, even without deliberately doing that. Just by both of you individually holding this vibration, it creates that ripple effect. It's that flap of the butterfly wings that creates changes you can't even perceive, you can't even anticipate in the world around you in very subtle ways. It opens up that possibility of something else that other people can strive to experience. Peace and simplicity and love, not in the sense of, being a shallow connection or being something very limited, but almost this depth that transcends that volatility, that's on the other side of, all that chaos and all that, that kind of transformative energy and those fires of change. This is the heart of that fire. This is that space that on the other side of all that transformation, as you both have been forged individually through your encounters in love with others, and even in the dynamic you've experienced with each other up to this point, in any kind of period of separation, you're being called to kind of move through that, to walk through that, to accept that peace which is wishing to come in for you. And we also have 5D manifestation. You are the alchemist magician. So again, this idea of transformation, transforming both of your ideas and experiences of love, stepping into a new variety of love, something new that is opened up within the two of you in terms of the ability to connect with one another. parts of yourself, needs that you have that might have been put very secondary in your lives, having these things really being addressed and recognized and understood, healed in a way through acknowledgement, even at the energetic level, with one another. There's a sense here too of the two of you really having manifested this connection through the work that you've done on yourself personally to break out of other, cycles in your life. And there's a sense here of kind of wish fulfillment in a way. Maybe this might not have been something you directly knew how to articulate or ask for, but it was a vibration. It was a vibration of yearning you were putting out. And it's a sense that now that this has showed up, this has turned up in the material world, there's almost a sense of being a little bit startled. Almost that, the magic and the work that you've been putting, this effort into, this energy of transmutation and recreating yourself, in that having that tangible result, reaching that end goal, where it was maybe something, you were holding out that hope for, but you also kept that healthy skepticism, that sense that you would be okay if you didn't have that love and partnership, you didn't have that other person, you're going to be okay in your life, to continue forth in your own autonomy and as an individual. And, now that circumstances have aligned you and this person, it's a sense of, what you had been hoping for, what you had been dreaming about, wishing about, that you maybe had thought was, too in the realm of fantasy. It didn't really exist. It couldn't possibly happen. But you two have really, through your personal transformation, you've collapsed other timelines in your life. You've moved energies within your life and within yourself in a way that, outside circumstances in the universe has colluded with you to bring you two together at this very particular point in your lives and in time, to experience this sensation, to really activate, this trigger to kind of go within, to release some of that fear and to, kind of let some things go, to understand you have all the wisdom, you have what you need to take this next step forward, to step out into that uncharted territory, that unknown territory in terms of love for you personally and, maybe in what you've experienced and you see in people around you or in the world around you. And it's almost a sense of, being that voyager, being that explorer into that new territory. That there might be this hesitation. Are you prepared for this? Are you ready for this? Is this what it appears to be? So some of this is, it's definitely, it's on this person's mind. If there's a silence, if there's kind of a distance between the both of you, they're almost, they're feeling very, very startled about that, at kind of the suddenness and the way and the precision in which this wish fulfillment has almost showed up for them. So I'm going to get some guidance from Spirit now for you, Group 3, about the situation. Okay, and we have, I know that all the wisdom I need to make the right decision lies within me. I am intuitive. So that is some beautiful guidance there about, just taking this time to really feel into that space. Feel into that space that has been revealed, that has been excavated by this person, that has been shown to you by this connection. Taking the time to really address the fears, the hesitations, taking that time to do that inventory, to recognize that what you have experienced, what you have gone through in love up to this point has prepared you for this moment in time. You have the wisdom that you need to move forward and to make, good choices and to honor yourself in love. But this might also be a point where you're carrying around a little too much. Some of those lessons from the past, it's at a point of you've completed these things, you've completed these cycles. It is now time to, wish those things well and release those things so that you are unencumbered and can allow this love to kind of flow to you and flow through you so that you are operating in flow as opposed to in resistance with this. This can be definitely some guidance also to take some time to meditate, to take some time to quiet yourself. Limit your outside distractions. Focus, find that center, tap into that very quiet and resounding voice of your heart. Trust that over kind of the chatter of fears and the skepticism, and take those small steps as necessary to lean more into that, to move more towards that, to recognize kind of this gift that is being presented, this next phase in your evolution of your understanding and relationship with the force of love in the form of another person and in the form of a relationship, and understanding that this has come at this point in time because you've done this work within yourself, recognizing as well that this person feels very mirrored, this energy here. So recognizing the fears that they are encountering, having compassion, giving this person some time and space to also come to that quiet wisdom within, find that center within themselves, hear and follow that voice within, to defy that chatter of the ego, to defy that fear that is trying to hold them back and is maybe, kind of tickling them with these ideas of worst case scenario, of looking for that other shoe to drop, or, kind of this sense of guardedness of, this uncertainty, this hesitancy to dive deeply into this because they can't afford to lose themselves again. It's been so difficult to kind of pick themselves back up and rebuild themselves, that, and they're at a point of being very okay with where they are, that to risk that, to lose that again, almost, seems at a greater expense than the reward would be worth. But allowing this person and having faith that, that quiet voice within will continue to be persistent. The universe will provide signs, that intuition. This is something which has affected this person in the same way it has affected you. It has not gone unnoticed. And it is something which, allowing that to organically kind of be digested, processed, and the way forward to be shown, acting from a space of wisdom, discernment, and trust, is definitely the best formula in this circumstance. So I'm going to get an affirmation card for you now, group 3. Okay, I release fear of the unknown. I can move forward with energy and enthusiasm. So a beautiful closing bit of guidance there that just ties this whole reading up, as far as any kind of barriers of fear. Maybe even fears that this person, has kind of turned away from this and they won't return. Fears that, maybe it's just another confirmation that you're meant to just kind of be on your own, or you're still kind of searching, or maybe you've missed out on love won't find you, it's not meant for you. Any kind of hesitation to step into that place of otherness. You're really being guided to, look within, to kind of gently let these things go, release these things, seize this moment. Seize this opportunity, recognize this opportunity, recognize all the work you have done on yourself has led you to this point of intersection with this person. Open your heart to believe that change is possible. Doing the work on yourself to come around, so that you can hold that space for this person to do that work within themselves to come around, and the two of you, to really be at that point of preparedness, that point of readiness, realizing that you are ready, you are prepared. This is presenting itself to you now at this point in time for a very specific reason. Leaning into that energy of trusting that it's time to have new experiences of love. It's time to experience love as peace. The stories of love as chaos, those have come to an end. You have learned what you can from that. You have wisdom about that, and now's the time to really explore this new territory, this uncharted territory, of what the other side of love can be, this peacefulness, this connectedness, this vast open kind of tranquility between the both of you, where time stops and you become limitless in what you allow one another to experience with one another, and you are limitless in terms of your ability to truly be your individual and authentic self with one another. So I'm going to get some initials for you now, group 3. This can be first, middle, or last name of you or this person, or it could spell something out, just whatever resonates for you. Got you, I, B, L, V, A, E, O, M, J, Z, and Y. So those are your messages, group 3. I hope that they resonated with you and that you enjoyed the reading. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, or share. If you'd like a personal reading, I offer them through my Etsy shop, and there's a link in the description box of the video for that. I also sell handmade jewelry and some divination tools in my Etsy shop if you're interested in checking those out as well. I hope to see you again in another reading. Please take care and be well.